love every aspect of the horse business, but I always love the horses.
Right.
And they're phenomenal creatures. And Winston Churchill was right. He said there's something about the outside of a horse that is wonderful or good for the inside of man. And I so believe. And you're pretty special. You've got a 37-year-old. That doesn't happen to many folks.
Yeah, he's upset with me right now. Here he is. I don't know if you got to see him.
Old buck.
He doesn't want. He wants to be out with his buddies, so he's not liking helping out right now. He's complaining. I don't know if you could hear him.
He's probably grunting a little.
Knocking papers on my hand.
Yep.
So with that being said, you've been around, the horse racing industry all your life, and being that I grew up near Kentucky Derby, I grew up near Louisville, about 30 minutes on the Indiana side, and I don't know if you knew this, but my dream was to be a jockey.
Right.
That was my dream. And I used to practice on him, posting and racing and dreaming of winning that Kentucky Derby. So I think it's really cool how I've come full circle with meeting people like you that are in the horse racing industry and meeting jockeys as well alike. So that it just kind of gives us more connection and understanding, especially we both have love for horses. So with that being said, I would love for you, I've known you probably, 5 years now?
5 years.
And I heard your story about Miss Pangea, and I would love for you to share with us about, what happened with her and what she's doing today with how nutrigenomics changed your course of how you also treat your horses.
Well, I'd love to. Some of y'all on this call have heard it before, but it's important that those of you that did not know hear this story. Kim and I were pretty much minding our own business and doing what we normally do, and it was tail end of April of 2013. And our best mare, Miss Pangea, she's a multiple graded stakes producer. And she was 18 at the time and had a stillborn foal and had some retained placenta, and infection set in, obviously. And the next morning was Preakness morning. Never forget Preakness morning in 2013. She's got full-blown laminitis and in all 4 feet, and it was as bad as Kim and I have ever seen. And those of you that know about horses know how devastating that is. It's probably the worst disease that a horse could have. And we'd raised her from a baby. Like I said, she was 18, and she had the death look in her eye that morning. And the vet came, and he treated her, and with Western medicine, which I'm sorry doesn't work all that often on laminitis. And he'd been our vet for a long time, and you could see the wheels going in his head. And thank goodness Kim had been smart enough a few days before to give him some information on this NRF2 activation with nutrigenomics, and he actually had read it. And so he's standing there in the stall. We said, "Bill, what about trying this?" And he said, "Why not? Let's try." And we said, "Well, how much of this NRF2 should we give her?" And he says, "I don't know." He said, "But I can tell you this," and this is something to remember for everybody. He said, "I can tell you this." He said, "You cannot hurt her with this product." He said, "There's nothing, it's not like a drug." He says, "Nothing in here that will harm her. It's simply herbs." So we treated this mare, and lo and behold, God is my witness, that was Saturday morning, and by Sunday afternoon, she's actually looking out the top of her stall and nickering to her buddies out in the paddock, stepping out of her ice tub. She was standing in ice about, 12 or 14 hours a day, whatever it was, and she was already being a bad patient. So the turnaround was that quick.
That's a good thing.
Really was. And she, on Tuesday, he came back every day, but he came back on Tuesday, which was day 3, and he x-rayed her feet. And he called us up in a couple hours, and he said there's absolutely no rotation of the coffin bone, and there's no sinking of the sole. And both those are pretty much common with bad cases of laminitis. Yeah. He said, in fact, "I got to give you more antibiotics." He said, "I only gave you enough for 3 days." He said, "I didn't think she'd live 3 days." And I said, "Bill, I didn't think she'd make the first night. She was that bad." So 3 more days go by, And he comes out and he pulls another blood, and he calls us up in a couple hours after that, and he said, I got another vet close by. He's going to come take the catheter out of her neck. He said her blood works perfect. And that was 6 days. And like I said,
that's amazing.
She was 18, and she was so good the following spring that we bred her at 19, and she got in foal on one cover, had a baby that year. And she is now 23. And she's getting ready to have her third foal in the last 4 years, and she looks.
Yay!
If you saw a picture, you would say, "Well, she can't be over 10 or 12 years old." Absolutely
right.
And she's a very smart horse, which helped with the procedure because she knew we were trying to help her through all this. But it's just a neat story, just a really, really neat story. And it convinced Kim and I. We had been involved with this product only about 3 weeks, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were just guessing, and we knew we took it for ourselves. But it works on all mammals. These nutrigenomic products work on all mammals. And so we started experimenting with other things as far as our horses go. I noticed my personal, I've been a lap swimmer for now 36, 37 years. And I noticed that after 45 days, I had 0 recovery time. I got out of the pool in the middle of June and doing 27 laps on a 95-degree day, and Kim looked at me. She says, "You know, you're not even breathing hard." I said, "You know what? I'm not. I'm not breathing at all." So I have no recovery time. But we use it for non-sweaters, which we get down here in the summertime. We use it on sales yearlings and sales weanlings. And I'll tell you a couple of quick stories on the sale horses. They go to Keeneland to sell, and the first horse we sent that first year was a yearling out of Miss Pangea. And he was of high elusive quality, and he was selling on the second day, big day at Keeneland. And we had him on one pill of this a day. And we went to the stall to see him after the first day of showing and talked to our consignor. And she said, well, he showed 73 times today, which is a bunch, a heck of a lot. They actually go in the stall, put a shank on him, brush him off, pick the feet, bring him out, walk him up and down, and put him back. Back in the Sometimes they show it to 3 or 4 people while they're out, but he actually showed to 73 people that day. So we went to the stall, and the little guy's got his head in the corner, his ears are down, and his hair coat's starting to go flat. He was flat. He was worn out. So we told her to bump him up to 3 of this product, and the next morning he's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go, and he sold for $100,000. And he'd have been about that much taller. He probably bought $200,000. He was in a really nice color.
Really? Doesn't your height make that big of a difference?
It can. But he was a sharp.
So the longer legs.
Yeah. But anyway, so we learned a lesson from that. 2 months later, we had a weanling in it. We don't normally sell weanlings, but this guy was 8 or 9 months old, whatever he was, and he goes to Keeneland, and he's in his first day on the sales grounds. He shows 93 times. And now you think about it. There's a 9-month-old baby that's never been off the farm. Put him on a trailer, ship him to Keeneland, 800 miles up the road. Put him on a sales grounds where there's probably 800 or 1,000 other screaming babies, and you expect him to act normal. Well, this guy did. He was so focused, and he was so ready because we had him on 3 pills a day going in. So he showed 93 times first day. So we go to his stall that afternoon. We figure he's passed out in the middle of the stall because he had to. He comes to the.
No, I would be.
Yeah, he comes to the stinking screen with his ears pricked and his eyes bright, and he's ready to go out for 94. He was that plugged in and that not nervous, nothing nervous whatsoever about it. He was just focused and knew that was his job. And it's just like 2-legged kids. You ask them to do something about 4 times in the same day, and you know what you're going to get about the 4th time you ask them. This is going to be 94 for this guy. So I've seen that with old arthritic mare. We had an old 29-year-old mare, not as old as Buck, but she was real arthritic, and put her on here, and within 45 days, she's galloping around the paddock. And what we saw with her, Nicole, which was really neat, was she lived to be 31. But her 31. But
that's great.
Yeah, her last 2 years was top quality. And one day she just laid down in the field, couldn't get up, and that was that. And was a happy camper. So it raised that quality. it raises quantity,
Yes.
also raises the quality of our existence in all mammals. So we love nutrigenomics. We love NRF2 and NRF1 activation. We did experiment a little bit with the NRF1 activation with an old, I think she was 24, 25-year-old mare that has COPD. And we had her on some drugs that we were having to use, and we were able to wean her off those almost entirely by use of the NRF1. So wonderful products. What that does, that takes care of the mitochondria. It improves the health of the mitochondria that she has, and when they duplicate, mitochondria duplicate, and when they duplicate good mitochondria as opposed to damaged mitochondria. So we've had phenomenal results personally and with our animals and our personal health, if you will. I hate to use the word health, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And the body body heals itself. God gave us a body that pretty amazing.
Exactly. And then to have this technology at our hands is amazing, because people don't understand that oxidative stress is the key to over 250 diseases. And of course, oxidative stress, we all have it. If you breathe oxygen, obviously if you have stress in your life, you have more of it. And like you were saying with your weanlings that were traveling, I mean, that's stressful. Yep. Just the traveling part, not counting all the walks and the showing and being all around the other animals and people. That's very scary. Yep. So, I mean, it just proves that, if you can reduce your oxidative stress, then you can reduce a lot of the pain and inflammation. I don't know if you see, this is what I have right now. He wants me to scratch his butt.
Is that Buck's butt? I love it.
He likes his butt scratched. He's been bumping me for the last 10 minutes. So I think he scratched his butt. I think he's going to back over me. Yep. But he went on the David Letterman show for this stupid pet trick.
At 37, he deserves that.
Yes, he does. So, well, I think that's amazing, and thank you for sharing those stories, because I just don't think a lot of people understand, it's about quality of life. We're not trying to, it's nice when you can get horses, especially like my 37-year-old, and I started him on the NRF2 over 6 years ago, and he was hypothyroid and had a severe heart murmur, 4 out of 6. So my vet, pretty much, holistic vet, said, one day his heart's just going to give out on him before anything else. And with amazement, and honestly, I only started it because I wanted quality of life, because I knew it would make him feel better because it reduced that inflammation in his body. But look what I got, and I got quantity too. I mean, that was not something I thought I would get with this new technology. So, I just don't think people this is up and coming. It's really new. Mostly integrated veterinarians know about it. I mean, have you come across any veterinarians that, other than the ones you've already knew already, that are educated?
We have, and it's a process. It's kind of like doctors. It's a process, and it's foreign to them, and they spend so little time on nutrition in school, or doctors or vets, that it's kind of a learning curve. So scratch that boy. So, but also remember that there is a study by the National Institute of Aging, which is part of the National Institute of Health, that shows that this NRF2 activation that we're talking about increases life 7% in males, and I believe it's 3% in females. So you girls don't get as much help as we guys get, but we need more help.
We live longer anyway.
That's but hey, that's
we got to take care of you.
That's right. But that's pretty solid research when you start getting it from all the universities and the National Institute of Aging and places like that, American Heart Institute, and all those things. Yep. So this is the real deal, and it's so simple. It is so stinking simple that a lot of people miss it. So.
And the other thing I'll mention, since you're talking about research, I've done a lot of research on PubMed.gov, This is the National Institute of Health as well. And if you go up to the search bar and type in oxidative stress in equine, you will see all the diseases that oxidative stress is actually involved with. And obviously one of it is inflammation. Laminitis is huge in that category with oxidative stress. COPD, and I also have a pony that we're treating here at my farm with COPD and has been off all steroids with this product. She has not had to take any more of that, which, you know, long-term use of steroids causes complications and side effects. So she's been amazing. So do your own research, people. I mean, it's out there. You don't have to listen to what we say, even though you have a top person right here in the industry telling you this.
You can also go, I learned this from Dr. Lee Seward.